Ladies, we're talking about your man today. Man in quotation. Okay? So you know exactly what you have with him. You also have no idea. He texts you like he loves you, and then the next he disappears like you're an option. And somehow in your mind, you think he's the one. You're still there. You're still available and hoping that it's going to turn into something else. You're still calling it something. So today, actually, what we're talking about is situationships. And we're talking about it not to shame you for being in one or ever have been in one, okay? But it is actually to show you how exactly you got there and why a part of you chose it. And we're going to also talk about how you walk out without leaving pieces of you behind, because this episode is really about claiming your power back. Okay? So let's get into it. Welcome to the Champagne Empress Podcast. I'm your host, Georgette. This is the space where ambitious women come to embody their power, magnetize extraordinary love, and build a life that feels as good as it looks. So let's dive in, ladies, because today's episode is going to be juicy and empowering. So let's talk about how you got here, okay? If you are in a situationship right now, this is for you. And we're going to talk about the psychology of what's behind it, okay? And the one thing I want to dive into is the truth that no one says out loud is that situationships don't happen to careless women. Okay. So don't even feel shame or guilty that you're in one. They happen to actually women who feel deeply, women who are loyal before they are loved, women who actually see potential. Hear that word again, potential, and pour into that situationship like it's a real deal. And I've been there as well. I've been in situationships, and until I became aware of what I desired, so we're gonna talk about it, because you didn't stumble into it. Okay, you were drawn in, and there's a reason for that. Here's what a situationship actually is. Okay, it's actually a relationship that has all the emotional texture of something real, right? You have the intimacy, the inside jokes, like he shows up for you, the late night calls, and sometimes you even meet the family. You feel like you belong in his circle. You meet the friends and you hang out all the time. But what you actually don't get is none of the definition of what a relationship actually is. You don't get the commitment, you don't get the security. And the reason it feels so confusing is because it is actually real on one level. The connection that you have with your person is real. Your feelings are real. And what's not real actually is the agreement. There was never an agreement. That's where it gets blurry. He never actually said he wanted to be your man. You never asked him to be. And I really don't suggest you ask a man to be your man either, by the way. And then here you are sitting, months pass, years pass, and you're still wondering about the situation. And how does this happen, right? And I'm going to talk about a few patterns that I see over and over and over again. And you could find yourself in one or all the patterns, but I want you to be aware of what's coming up for you, because the goal of this episode is not to say, oh my gosh, you should get out now. I want you to really be honest with who you are and empower you to make a better choice. If the better choice for you is to stay in one, hey, by all means. But if you are drowning into one, if you want security, if you want peace, I want you to listen to the patterns that I see. So the one, okay, You optimize for access over alignment. What do I mean by that? You want to be near him all the time, so you made yourself easy to be around. You're like, oh, I'm not going to give him pressure, no expectations. Let's go with the flow. This is one of the words whenever a guy I'm dating say, I just want to go with the flow. I'm like, listen, it's great to go with the flow because we know as a feminine, we have to be flowy, but the man has to have a little bit of structure, right? It's like, we can't take it day by day, but I want to know there's intention behind it. So then here's the thing, right? You told yourself you were being cool. I'm being chill. We're just chilling. We're just kicking it. Whatever that means. Okay. But what you were actually doing was making yourself available for whatever he decided to give. He was giving breadcrumbs and you made yourself available for it. He was giving bare minimum and you made yourself available for it. And he decided to give you just enough to keep you hooked, to keep you coming back. Enough emotional breadcrumbs. Oh my gosh, he's opening up. And then he gives you enough little calls at night or whatever. And you feel like, oh, he's always there for me. So I want you to see in your life if this pattern plays a role in how you got there in the first place. Okay. And the second pattern I see a lot is you probably mistook consistency for commitment. And here's the thing, right? Because a lot of people you hear, when someone is consistent is because they actually want you. You also have to understand, yes, you need consistent in a relationship, but consistency is not always commitment. And here's the thing, right? Because let's just say he texts you every day. So you have no time for anyone else in your life, right? He shows up when you call. He makes you feel chosen in the moments. And your nervous system is actually registering all of that as safety, right? As love. Oh, he loves me because he shows up. He's always there for me. But consistency without intention is just a habit. You know, he has a habit of showing up when you call. He has a habit of texting you every day, right? So what I want you to understand is a man can be consistently present in your life and consistently unavailable at the same time. I want you to let that sink in for a moment. Okay? So he gives you, and then you open up, you go deeper, and then he doesn't give you anything. Okay? He doesn't go any deeper than that. That's a man who's unavailable. And is that really what you desire? And a third pattern I usually see is, this is the one, okay? You were afraid of the answer. Yes, this is the one we don't talk about. And somewhere in you knew, because I always tell my women, your intuition is powerful. You know when something's wrong. You know when something is not going to work out. Sometimes we force it because we don't want to be uncomfortable. Okay? So you knew that if you ask, what are we? He might tell you something you didn't want to hear. So what did you do? You're like, you know what? I don't want to know. So you didn't ask. You kept the possibility alive. The potential of, I'm going to make him fall in love with me. And he doesn't have to say anything because action speaks louder than words. And all the reason why is because a maybe felt better than a no. And that could be very scary. You would rather, you know what? I just want him in my life. I don't want him out of my life, because you know when you get a no, that person is out of your life because you have to cut the cord. So you would rather drag yourself for years and hoping and wishing instead of actually knowing the actual answer. And I want you to know that it's not a weakness to not actually to be afraid of the answer. Okay. You always hear, don't ask question you don't want to know. I don't stand by that. I ask a question because I want to know, because I want to be in a position where I get to make a choice of if I want to stay or if I want to go, if I want to move forward or if I want to let it go. So you being afraid of the answer is actually just a human thing. But I want to know, not knowing it is actually costing you. So are you going to live life with a high cost because of potential? And let's go deeper into why a part of you actually chose this. Because listen, I am talking from experience. I've been through this. I go into the awareness of my soul to understand why a part of me have chosen this. Because you have to be able to do the identity piece, because that's where things get real. That's where you get to the bottom of things. Okay? So I want to say something that might sting a little, and I say it with love, okay? You didn't just fall into a situationship, okay? A part of you actually selected it. I know. You probably like, I never decided I wanted to be in one. He put me there. We're not putting blame on any man. We're not putting blame on yourself. What we're doing is really being accountable for the choices that we have made. Okay? Because somebody can do whatever they want to do with their life with you. You always have the power to select it or deny it. Okay? So now we're actually taking accountability. We're going to go deeper into the why. And sometimes the choice is not always conscious. It's not malicious or anything like that. But there is something in you that found this arrangement manageable. You have to figure out what it is. And we need to look at what that is, because we don't want that pattern to repeat itself over and over. Because here's the thing. When you are fully rooted in your worth, when you know you are a destination and not a layover, like I was mentioning earlier, like I don't do let's go with the flow. I need to know there's intention behind what we're doing. There's a destination. The goal is this. And the process gets to be less structured. We get to flow, we get to be, but there needs to be a destination, not just a, well, I don't know if I'll take you to Paris, but we have a stop in the UK. No, you're not a layover. Okay? You want someone to take you to the destination, and sometimes you don't make it to the destination. That's the whole point of the intention. So you have to understand you're not a destination. You have to understand you are the destination and not a layover. And when you understand that your love is a gift and not a bargaining chip, you do not stay in shenanigans for long, okay? You ask a question, you receive the answer, and you act accordingly. You have the power to do that. So what keeps you in a situationship, okay? What keeps you in one? And sometimes it's actually the belief that love has to be earned. That's one of the biggest misconception, biggest lie I've ever heard. And in the dating world, a lot of men really make you feel like love has to be earned. And you believe that if you show up long enough, prove yourself, cook for him, like love him well enough, like do all the things, and he'll finally choose you. He'll finally see you. But I want you to hear me clearly. Love that has to be performed is actually not love. You're actually auditioning for a man that was not even yours in the first place. And you were not made to audition. Okay? You were meant to thrive in this lifetime. So if you have been auditioning for the part of a wife, if you have been auditioning for the part of please choose me, I want you to stop right now. Because some of you are out there saying, oh, I've done it better than his ex. Baby, no one is competing here. I want you to show up in your capacity and allow him to see you fully. Stop mothering him. Stop pouring every single thing into him, yet he can find the commitment. He can say, oh my gosh, you're the one. I'm claiming you as my woman. No, enough is enough. And here's the thing. Sometimes it's actually a wound around worthiness, okay? And I had to work through this myself. It's like a quiet voice that says, this is what I get. This is all I get. I'm not good enough, okay? Years ago, I worked on this probably over 10 years ago. I was in a place where I felt unworthy, that I wasn't good enough. And so then this thing shows up. You have that quiet voice. And you telling yourself that the kind of love you really want, a clear, concise, consistent, chosen, the ones you don't have to beg for things, the one you don't have to keep asking, what are we? You think those relationships are for women who are not you. And you feel like maybe you don't deserve that love. Not yet. Okay? Not until you do something. Not until you're further along. You're tinier, softer, more healed, or whatever else more you think you need to add to the picture. And sometimes it's simply that you don't know what it feels like to fully be chosen. So you don't know what you're missing. And that's a big piece, because this is the reason why I tell women, when you know how to choose you, when you put yourself above anyone else, you understand what it is like to feel chosen, because you're choosing yourself. Choosing yourself is not a selfish act. It's actually to the benefit of the planet. Because when you choose yourself, you actually choose to honor who you are. So when you show up in the world giving love, you're actually giving love freely and not show up resentful. You show up better for the people in your life, for your kids, for your spouse, for your husband, for your family. You understand what it feels like to be chosen. So when you enter a partnership, it's an equal footing. So Empress, I need you to hear this. The situationship that you're in is not evidence that you're unlovable. It is actually evidence that somewhere along the way, you have learned to make yourself small enough to fit inside someone else's indecision. And the good news is, it ends today. Today. So now that you know the patterns, okay, and you're like, I'm done, because there's no other way to say I'm done. Okay, you decided that. Now, how do you walk out with your power intact? Okay? We're not leaving any pieces of yourself behind. We're not giving any of you away anymore. Because this is the shift that you need to stay in your sovereignty. So how do you walk away? So I'm not going to actually tell you to send him a paragraph. Like people say, oh, send him a letter, send him an email. No, I'm not going to tell you to do that. I'm not going to tell you to ghost him either, because we're not going to do that. What I'm going to tell you is this. The way out of a situationship is not a conversation with him. Yeah. It's actually a conversation with yourself. So let's get into it. Okay? And this is where we're going to be completely honest, because that's the things you're going to need to walk away. So I think I have 4 steps on this. So step 1, okay, what I want you to do. I want you to get honest about what you actually want. This is a huge piece, because there was some times in my life I was like, oh, I'm ready for my husband. But actually I wasn't. I was like, oh, it feels like I should be ready for my husband. And then the next, it was like, oh, I'm ready for to not give a flying fuck. Sometimes I was a lie. So I want you to be completely honest with what you want. And what you want doesn't have to be based on what society deemed fit for you. It is a pure soul desire. Okay? So get honest about what you really want. Like I mentioned, not what you've been pretending to be okay with. Like the breadcrumbs. I want you to ask yourself what you really want. And not what feels safe to want. It's actually what you actually want. Do you want a relationship? Do you want a commitment? What do you want? Do you want to be married? Because not everyone wants to be married. And I want you to honor that about yourself. Do you want a man who introduced you to his friends, his family? But here's the thing, though. I think I mentioned it already. Some situationship will introduce you to their family. And then that's how you get even hooked. Like, oh, but I met his sister. Honey, you want that commitment. Do you want a man who claims you? Oh my gosh, you feel the power in that claim. A man who claims you, oh, it's so sexy. Is that what you want? Do you want a man who builds with you? I want you to say it out loud or write it down or do some voice memos, because you cannot magnetize what you won't admit you desire. So once you say you desire it, you're telling the universe, I'm ready for it. And now everything opens to give that to you. Opportunities will open wherever. You're going to find signs everywhere that it's coming your way. But you have to be open to that. And the second thing you're going to do, decide what you're available for. This is one of my biggest pieces, especially when it is to embody your desires. When we are playing in the divine feminine world, we understand we have to decide what we are available for, because what you were available for before is no longer what you stand for now, because right now you're sovereignty. And this is where the identity shift starts. You're not available for half love anymore. You're not available for breadcrumbs. Not because you're angry or upset or anything like that. You're not trying to punish men or anybody in your life for that matter. But because you have decided, I want to say, you don't have to make an announcement. Do it quietly, powerfully, that now you are a woman who receives in full, not half, in full. That decision changes how you move. So if someone comes into your life and they're like, well, I'm giving you half my time, hey, goodbye. You know what to do. I'm giving you half my emotions. Who wants that? No. Goodbye. You want to have access to it all. And it's not because you're demanding. It's because you're ready to receive that. And then the person will open up and give that to you. When you make that decision, it actually changes what you accept. Your energy changes in a way words never could. So I want you to do that, okay? Decide what you are available for. And the third step is have a conversation, okay? Or don't. That's the most important one. You can or you don't have to. So you can choose to tell him exactly where you stand. Hey, so and so, this is where I stand. I don't think this is gonna continue, etc., etc. You could tell him what you need and what you're no longer available for. Okay, I need a relationship. I need a commitment. I am no longer available for half-assed love. I'm no longer available for unavailability. I'm no longer available for whatever it is that you're writing that you're not available for. And that is a powerful move. Okay. And here's the thing, all of that, it has nothing to do with him. You don't go and give him an ultimatum. You don't say, if you don't do these things, I'm leaving. We never give an ultimatum. I don't believe in ultimatum. You let people choose you because they want to. And I want you to also choose people because you want to, not because you're desperate or afraid or you feel like, oh, I put so much energy into this relationship, therefore it must work. It needs to be the end goal, even though in your gut you know it's not. So do not give an ultimatum. Don't go about it with desperation, okay? We're not convincing him that you're worthy, because worthiness is your birthright. We already know you are worthy. So if you're going to have that conversation, I want you to state it like a fact, because it is, okay? It is. And also the other side of that, if you decide not to have a conversation, which is absolutely valid, you simply stop being available. Okay? You redirect your energy. When he's like, oh my gosh, it's 10 p.m. I want to see you. No, I'm not available. Hey, can we go grab a bite to eat? Oh, I would like that, but I'm unavailable. You let the situationship die by outgrowing it. Okay? Because it's not yours to keep. Not every ending needs a speech. This is what I always tell people. Not every ending needs a speech. Not every ending needs a warning. Especially when there's no commitment involved. Now, if there's a commitment, you can't just pack your bag and go, okay? Respect yourself and respect the other person. But if a man does not commit to you, there is no need to have a big speech ready for him when you're ready to move on. You just take your energy back and your power back. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just leave, to be honest. Just leave. And I remember when I actually left my relationship, I didn't do a big speech about it. I just said, I'm leaving. That was the words. I'm leaving. I found a spot and I'm leaving. I didn't have to explain myself. This is why, this is this. But at the point I was in that ending, I already started the work on myself. And I knew my worth. I knew all the things. So yeah, that was the announcement that I made at my last relationship. So situationships, I just pull my energy back. I don't do a speech. It's not necessary to me. Pull the energy back and let it fizzle. And if you want to cut it cold turkey, you're like, hey, I'm no longer available for this. And then you end it. That's a whole speech. And the last one that I'm going to advise is step 4 is actually grieving. Okay. The grieving part is something that people bypass. Regardless if you are grieving a relationship, a situationship, a potential date, whatever it is, there's going to be emotions that need to be processed. And I want you to actually anchor into those feelings, into that emotion. I don't want you to bypass it, because we are not bypassers. As divine feminine women, We are here to feel our emotion, feel it in the body, and asking it, what does it need from us? Like, what is it telling you? What's the message that's coming about that feeling, right? And when we think of a situationship, it's like, why would I grieve it? Like, even if it was never official, even if he actually never called you his, you had feelings and you need to honor that. You had hopes. You built something in your mind and your body that deserved to be honored. So grieve it, okay? Grieve what you wanted, and you wanted a relationship with the person. So grieve that. Grieve the version of him you believed in, who you believe that would show up for you. The version of him you believe would choose you. And then after you do that, I want you to come home to yourself, because it's time. Yourself has been waiting to be seen. Yourself has been wanting to be loved properly. Yourself has been wanting to be chosen for who you are, not for performing, not for auditioning, not for any of that, because you get to be you. So I want you to come home to you. Because the woman who walks out of a situationship whole, clear, and unapologetic, that's you. And you are magnetic. You're not bitter. You're not broken. You are calibrated. You know what you want. You know your worth. And now you're moving accordingly. And the love that finds you next, my darling, finds you ready and beautiful and sovereign. So are you ready to make that move? Because it's time. It is time to let go of that situationship. All right. So I want to know what decision you have made. And I want to thank you for taking the time and sipping with me today. And if this episode moved you, I want you to share it with a woman who needs to hear it. And if you leave a review, which I would appreciate, because it means everything to me, do it. And tell me what part of the conversation resonated with you even more. And as a reminder, a new episode comes every Wednesday. And it might change. However, for now, it's on Wednesday. And you could find me on Instagram at the Champagne Empress. And for the woman behind the Champagne Empress, living her life in that divine feminine, you can follow my personal Instagram, which is Georgette Casimir. But until next time, embody the life you desire. Cheers to you.